how do we communicate tone, about tone? And really, again, I feel like we might be making it a little harder than it is, because I think you were referring to somebody who's super intellectual or analytical, and that they genuinely want to understand what it is that's going on. A couple things I would say on that. One is if there's somebody who's super analytical and really trying to understand what's going on, and it's getting in the way of you doing what you do, that's kind of a diversion technique. But that's kind of another topic. We're gonna answer your question as though it is a finite question that can have an answerable response that will fill their need to know, and then you can move on and get on with your care. So I would give examples that everybody would be able to relate to when it comes to tone. One would be like when you walk into a room with a lot of people, and we all sort of innately read the room. Like if there's just been a birthday party in the room and like the kids are super excited or whatever, like we know when you walk in, it's like, hey everybody, how are you? Or if you've just walked in, and even though you're in a great mood and you walk in and maybe somebody got a bad phone call, or a piece of mail came with news that was not welcome, or there was an argument about whatever, and you walk in and you're like, whoa, I'm coming into this room with a different tone. Everybody understands the concept of tone. So we can also talk about musical notes. This tone is different from this tone. Agreed. Most people can hear that difference. But if music isn't their thing, we can talk about the different tones of colors. There's lighter tones, there's darker tones, there's deeper tones, there's richer tones, there's more airy tones, there's more earth tones, there's more, artificial tones. So I would talk about tone, learning from the person what it is that they connect to. They may understand better. They may understand kinesthetic tone better. So let's say, okay, so can you feel what this scarf feels like as opposed to this brick wall? Does it feel different? Can you feel the difference? Okay, when I'm touching your body, these are really two dramatic examples, but for me, it's a continuum, and I can feel different tones and the way they're stored in your tissues. And so when I go to address them, I want to address them in a way that's appropriate for each tissue. And obviously, it would be weird for me to apply the same type of force application to something that feels like really nice and squishy and warm like a scarf, or a brick wall. They're two completely different entities. There's not one that's better or worse. It's just they're different. And so it's super appropriate for me as a chiropractor to come to each of those types of tone, or each of those types of tissues, with a different approach. And I think in that, just kind of making it very simple and using examples that are applicable to daily life is really helpful in terms of making things understandable for people if they are really trying to understand. If they are there to ask questions and ask questions and ask questions and obfuscate, you may want to just check in and say, so I just need to know, do you feel like there is a point where I can actually answer your question? Or does it feel like we're trying to get away from the issue at hand, which is getting you on the table and making some changes in your system that are going to be reflected in your life? And that might also be enough to have the questions be at a minimum. The other thing for me, I find that when people are asking questions while I'm working, it makes it really hard for me to be present with what I'm feeling, because the part of my brain that I use to explain or describe is very different from the part of my brain that I use to feel in practice. And so I'll just ask them to please hold their questions and maybe email me, so that then I can have a chance to answer them in a headspace that it's appropriate for their question, rather than just trying to give them something off the fly and then kind of losing what I'm working on. So those are all loosely related to the original content. Okay, ciao.